And this conversation, please have your seats. And this conversation is going to be led by none other than the ambassador of the U.S. ASEAN Business, the president of the U.S. ASEAN Business Council, Ambassador Ted Osius. May we call you back on stage, sir? And now we will have a conversation with the president.
Mr. President, it is a great honor. Thank you for coming back to the United States. I guess, the past 14 months, you've gone to the UN General Assembly. You had your official visit to Washington. You're back here for the APEC summit. And, Mr. President, you were incredibly kind and welcoming and hospitable to our business delegation last summer. Thank you so much. So it really is, it's an honor to be with you again, sir.
Good morning. Thank you very much, Mr. Ambassador. One of our constant friends in the Philippines.
Thank you, sir. My first tour was in the Philippines in 1989. I have loved your country ever since. I think I speak on behalf of all of us when I say the United States welcomes the strengthened alliance that you've created with the United States, and the private sector is very eager to follow up on the comments that you've made about how to unlock the economic potential of the Philippines and how best to create partnerships in the Philippines. So with your permission, I'll jump right into a few questions. Your remarks were very inspiring. You spoke about bringing down inflation. You spoke about your country's macroeconomic performance. But there are uncertainties in the global economy. So given those uncertainties, what measures do you think are the most important that are in place so that the Philippine economy remains resilient?
Well, I think the most important thing to immediately realize is that we have to transform the economy. And it is not so much the recovery. And I think probably others have heard me say this before, but I don't view what we are trying to do as recovering. Recovering to what? Because I do not think that the aspiration is to return to 2019, 2020. And the aspiration is to transform the economy so that we are well positioned to take advantage of new technologies, and also to be able to face the challenges such as climate change, which unfortunately the Philippines is very vulnerable to. So these are the new issues that we must face. And then there are the shall we say, more expected issues that come about with the digital era coming into our workplaces, into our homes, into basically everything we do, and that presents great opportunities, in my view. The digital space is still very much open. And I think there are very grand opportunities for the Philippines in that regard. To begin with, the Philippines, we have to get to a point where we are able to say that we are well connected, in the sense that the majority, the large majority of the population has access to the internet, and that our systems are structured to make that access to the internet something of value, in that we will be able to do, ordinary people no longer have to trek all the way to these regional offices that are very far away, take a good deal of time, and go through the process of getting permits and such, and do it all online. And even payments in the banking world. The banking world has led the way in this regard. The private sector has led the way, but the government still has to play a very important part in, especially terms and things like cybersecurity. So these are the areas that we see. But the nuts and bolts of the economy still come down to infrastructure, the infrastructure development. And when we talk about infrastructure now, it's no longer just physical infrastructure, it includes digital infrastructure. And that is where we have really put a great deal of emphasis on. And it is the other side of it, another sector that's a very great, that needs a good deal of focus is energy, water supply. And the overall issue really still here, all of those sectors that I spoke about just now, any discussion within that sector, of development within that sector, always ends up including climate change. And that seems to be the basis on which we have to act for the future, on which we have to design our systems, and we have to keep climate change in mind. The Philippines has it very much as a top-of-mind issue simply because we have been adjudged to have the dubious distinction of being one of the most vulnerable countries when it comes to the effects of climate change. And so that will inform pretty much everything that we do as we move forward. So those are the fundamental areas that I think that we have to be looking at. And as an answer to that is one of the central principles that we have adopted is very simple, is that we see the government and the private sector very much in partnership. And I cannot see how the government can do this by themselves. I do not see how the private sector can do it by themselves. It has to be a partnership. And the partnership has to extend not only to between the private sector and the public sector, but also we call it the whole of government approach, that every resource that we have available must be put to work to try and bring us as quickly as possible to that transformation that I speak about.
Thank you, Mr. President. Those partnerships